Okay, we are back. So today we're going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while, just to talk while I'm working on some of my things that I have to do for work, and watching and reacting to videos. I've done it for a few game videos, but I haven't been doing it as much as I want, and I wanted to do something a little different, and I wanted to probably continue with this more. Just give my points of view on some of the things that are happening around right now. And the biggest thing that's happening right now is the race between now Kamala Harris and Trump. I wanted to make this video for one, my family. Hello, that I haven't seen for a while. I've been contacting them, but I wanted to make more videos again with me and the kids, but I haven't had time. So the little one's behind me right now. I'm playing some games. Summer vacation, so he's playing more than he should. But that's just the way it is. So this video is Trump having an interview with the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists. This happened about a week ago to 2 weeks ago, I believe. I already watched it once or twice during work. While I was working, during kind of like break time or whatever. And I think it's a good short video that kind of shows you a lot of basically Trump's mannerisms and why you should not pick him whatsoever to be a president of the United States. He's unqualified. He's just, I'm sorry to say, from my point of view, I'm going to tell it straight, horrible person. And it's disgusting that he became the president of the United States, but he's actually the result of other problems that are in America. Anyways, we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna be working on this, and I'm gonna be pointing out some points here and there, just to give you some idea of what's happening, and hopefully you can make your decision who you want to vote for. If you vote for Trump, all right. Nothing I can do about that. All right, so let's get to it. To my family, hello again. I hope you can just get some popcorn or something and just, enjoy watching me talk. It's been a while, né? All right, let's get to it. Gotta remember the buttons. Okay.
This discussion continues a decades-long tradition.
I hope the volume's okay. I'm gonna have to check it afterwards, but I don't have much time to do editing, so.
Policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for president, and the impact of those policies, especially in black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have attended the NABJ conventions either as presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris's team to schedule a Q&A either in person or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time.
What she's saying right now is an important point that we'll point it out. I'm gonna point out later. Remember this. There is a fact checking that they are trying to do online. Like you can fact check online. This is an important point. Trump's gonna be making some points that actually connect to this. I'll point it out when that happens. This information came out after the debate, or I mean after this interview. Again, I'm not a professional commentator on news. There's other people that are much better than me. So, this is just my points of view.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir.
Another big point right now.
A lot of people did not.
They just said thank you for. They just introduced themselves as thank you. Remember that. Again, he's going to point this out later. But again, I already watched this interview once or twice already, like when it first came out. Again, so she just thanked him for coming. She just, basically formalities. It's going to come up later again. Remember that. So.
I think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States,
there we go again. Yep.
Which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a...
Okay, she literally just said hello at the beginning of thank you for coming. And because he didn't like the first question, he's already attacking the journalist. When all she said was pointing out what he said in the past. A big thing is that that you maybe have heard in the news is that this crap. So the thing is, he's been saying that Kamala Harris has been born here. She's saying she's black, Indian, whatever. We're gonna go through this. I'm gonna be pausing it like crazy. But this is the exact same thing he did for Obama. The exact same thing he did when Obama was trying to be president. He said he wasn't born in America. He's not an American citizen, even though Obama showed his birth certificate, even though he showed the newspaper that announced his birth, Hawaii. He cannot take any criticism whatsoever. Anyways, let's get to it again.
Fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful.
First question.
I came here in good spirit.
Good spirit.
I love the black population of this country.
I love the blacks.
I've done so much for the black population of this country.
I love the blacks.
Including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing.
Some people in the audience like Trump.
Nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said...
Stop. So supposedly he's saying that there was supposed to be some debate that Kamala was supposed to go here. From what I've seen, this is not true. He's lying again. Kamala said that she would do something like some kind of speech, whatever, but it wasn't like 100% decided. He's just saying like, again, that you guys tricked me. You guys tricked me to come to this interview debate. Again, I can't remember exactly at this moment, but again, it's not the way he's saying it.
You can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand.
Okay.
I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
Okay, so I'm going to point out that, again, this is all that came out later. So right now, this is the thing that I was trying to mention before to keep it in mind. He's saying that they were 30 minutes late, the interviewers. This has been proven. So, okay, this has been, information came out that he's lying again. Supposedly the reason why they were late is because he was refusing to go on stage if they were going to fact check him. I don't know what agreement, so maybe they wouldn't fact check him like live at the moment, so they made it, so they said in the beginning of this this program that the people at home could fact check themselves. They could do the fact checking with the program that they have, whatever application that they have. But I guess maybe he refused to go on the show if they were going to fact check him live. So I guess that's the agreement. So they were basically arguing or whatever for like 30 minutes. So this whole time you're going to see how many times, again, I already watched this, you're going to see how many times he basically is pushing them that you guys are late, when it's he just didn't want to be fact checked. From what I've heard, it seems to that seems to be the most true.
I think it's a very nasty question. I have answered the question. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe.
So, oh God, I gotta. Okay, so if you don't know what this means, basically, the DEI basically means you're hiring someone to fill a quota. Okay, like you have to have this many women, you have to have this many people of color, Mexicans or Asians or whatever, to meet this type of quota of diversity. So instead of picking the best person, you're picking based on a quota. That's what they're saying. So Trump is basically saying they only pick Kamala Harris because she's black, basically. That's what they're saying. And she's a woman. So they're kind of filling like a spot. She's not the best person, but they think that because of her race and because of her gender, she's like filling like a gap that they need. Because okay, there haven't been any female presidents. So Obama was the first black person, and now they need a female president. He's saying something like that. The thing is that this DEI, this kind of filling in a quota of what maybe they need for positions, they do this all the time. Barack Obama picked Joe Biden to be his vice president because he needed a white guy to balance out his image, basically, because Obama was the first black president, and it seems that he needed Joe Biden to help balance out his image so more rural white people would vote for him, and kind of, just this slick kind of talking president with this kind of folksy kind of country guy. It's image. It's all image, basically. And this happens all the time. Trump, though, is saying it, again, for a stupid reason. Because this crap happens all the time.
A little bit different. So,
and he's refusing to answer the question, basically. Like, oh, I don't know what it is, whatever. What is it? Define it.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as
She became black.
So
She's
I
a
don't know, is she
chameleon.
Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear,
she
sir,
became a black person.
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask. Continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some.
Could be.
There are
Could
plenty.
be.
I know this lady right over there.
Sit down.
Harris is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion.
Okay.
Look, I
Stop real quick. So this woman right here, this one, she works for Fox. So during this whole interview, I want you to realize, again, if you don't know, Fox is a propaganda network. They basically support the Republican Party through like anything. So notice the question from these three women. I don't even know why this freaking woman is on the panel. She is not really a journalist. yeah, all journalists, I guess they're humans. They can be kind of a little bit propagandist no matter what, but she's just way too far. So these two women will be asking questions to Trump, and Trump will basically really be snapping at them. Notice the different questions, like the quality of the questions. So they will actually ask real ones. She does softballs, like, "Oh, Mr. President, you're so great," whatever, polishing his ass. Anyways, let's get to it again.
I'm going to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems.
So
with it. But one of the
stupid.
big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for,
No,
a lot
you
of the
don't.
journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly
Black
is a
jobs.
black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has
A black job is, black people stealing from white people. That's a black job, right? Stealing stuff from us, right? Jesus Christ with this guy.
a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
Anybody that has a job is a black
They're
job.
taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in,
Oh,
they're
my
invading. It's
brain.
an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs.
Whatever,
and
all the
frankly,
jobs.
they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very
not
hard
too
to
bad,
hear
but
for whatever
we'll see.
reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess
Again.
this woman was unable to get the right equipment.
Again,
But it's very
commenting
hard
on
for
the
me to hear you,
equipment.
But I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it. But
there probably is something wrong with the equipment. There probably is, but he's making it a personal attack constantly because he cannot let it go. He's incredibly petty. This is like not qualities of a leader. When I see him, just again, the image of what a president's supposed to be. I don't want my kids seeing somebody like that at the top, being petty, just constantly, like, just calling out stuff that is not important to the thing at hand. They can't focus. Like, just ridiculous.
I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or
So what do
more
you do?
than any
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history.
Yeah, it was. Biden's debate was garbage.
Numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going, and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him.
Yeah,
that's
tough
like
shit.
you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing where you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him.
Oh, poor baby.
But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of
Then,
open
don't
borders,
worry about it. Shut the hell up.
Unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too.
It's not my goddamn fault.
But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear, ma'am. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sadia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me.
Yeah, it doesn't. So it doesn't matter. So he's saying it doesn't. It didn't look good to me. The case where this woman was killed. If you don't know what the case was, there was a case that happened recently where a police officer basically shot a woman. Supposedly the woman had a little bit of a mental issues. I don't know. I have to double check about this, but supposedly she kind of had a little bit of mental issues. But she was in her home. There was some kind of issue. The kitchen. She was boiling water. And the officers told her to basically turn the water off, and she went to go pick up the hot water, and the officer basically thought that she was going to throw the hot water at the police officers, so they shot her dead. She was way across the room. They basically told her to do it, and again, this has happened constantly. Like, I've seen so many crazy stories. I've been seeing where people were crawling on the floor. There's been stories where the police told people to get down on the floor, and the people are crawling on the floor, and the police shot them dead. I've seen the case where there was a kid who was playing with a water gun at a park, and somebody called the police on them. Like, oh, there's basically black guys just like playing with guns at the park. The police, within 2 seconds, they got to the park. There's video of this. There's within 2 seconds when they arrived at the park, they jumped out of their cars. They didn't say anything, freeze. They said nothing. They just jumped out of the car. Within 2 seconds, they shot the kid dead. He was, I think, an elementary school student, just playing in the park with a water gun. Trump basically wants to give those police officers immunity. He's saying like, oh, it just depends. Again, but Trump probably doesn't care in the end. He's just trying to, because some police officers are very like, they want to get more basically power and immunity from, they want to be free from the consequences of the things that they've done, because a lot of times police officers need more training and they've done a lot of bad crap, stuff that they shouldn't do. There's good police officers, but there's a lot of ones that have bad training and just getting out of control in America, believe me. So he wants to give them more immunity. Yeah, I think they can do whatever the hell they want.
Right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again,
they're going to be charging the officer. I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm
Who the hell
talking
cares?
about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
you
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing, because sometimes you have less than a second
just
to make it.
constantly pandering. Yes, police officers' job is difficult, but the whole point of being police officers is to serve the community.
They made a mistake.
If it's too dangerous for you, I'm sorry, you should have a different job.
You know, I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case.
Stop. If I'm again, this is I don't know. There's so much crap going on. If this is true, the case that he's talking about, he's saying he won the case. The case. Again, he's dealing with like 90 something cases, and a few of the cases have already been finished, but he still has a bunch more. Like the one in Florida, I think the one about the papers that he took from that he wasn't supposed to take, and he basically hid like secret documents like in his home in Mar-a-Lago. I think the case that he's talking about was thrown out, not because he won it, because the judge got her job from him. Right now, the court systems in America are insane. They're out of control. And the Supreme Court is basically corrupted, has been corrupted. If you haven't been paying attention, this is why you should be paying attention, because the Supreme Court makes laws in America, and it's basically been corrupted. And also some of the lower courts. And the woman, legal scholars, people who study the law and stuff, they've been pointing out that this woman is kind of like out of control. She's doing a lot of stuff that she shouldn't be doing. The problem is with legal stuff, once you like try to do this or that, it can be very slow, and that's what he's basically doing. He's constantly getting people to jam up the works, like throw gum in the gears of like the system. So most likely he is going to get in trouble for this case, but it's going to be after the election, basically, from what it seems. Again, the woman that was the judge that was presiding over the case, that was basically dealing with that stuff, she's from what we see, she's also corrupted. She got her job from Trump, and she's basically like paying the favor back now. And she did some crazy crap on like how to throw the case away, and everybody's like, what the hell, this makes no sense, like what are you doing? When that case was incredibly strong. So again, he's saying that he won the case. He didn't win the case, it was thrown out. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. Continue.
And I just won it. Now Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents, and they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he's a nice old
from what I
guy,
heard,
but he had
this
no
is also
memory,
there's some
and
stupid stuff. Yeah, like Biden is just a
I won the case.
doddering old man. They said basically.
I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to different topics.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case.
I won. Why aren't you talking about it more?
Political opponent. I have another one.
I have another one.
I have a
I'd
hostile
love
judge.
we have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse you. You're the one that held me up for 35 minutes.
Again, here we go again.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign.
He can't stop
Senator
himself.
J.D.
He cannot,
Vance is
and
your
that's why
running
he's
mate.
losing now. He's
had a
out
lot
of freaking control.
controversy lately, and I want to read
At the
you a
current
few
time
things
this is
that he said
happening,
in the past.
I mean,
he said,
at the what's happening now, this is a few weeks ago, he's basically out of control. He can't stop himself. He can't stop himself.
the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
and I think
campaign
I'm speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family. But I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on.
Okay, real quick. So basically, they're talking about his vice presidential pick. It's come out that the guy that he picked as the vice president, J.D. Vance, basically said so many things against women, and like basically the main thing is women, but also gay people and trans people and stuff like that. That he's talking about the family dynamic. There should be a husband, wife, children, and he's saying that like basically the other party, the Democratic Party, is just filled with childless spinsters, basically crazy cat ladies that don't understand the importance of family. And basically that guy, the vice president, he said he wants to implement, if you don't have kids, you shouldn't be considered a full citizen of the United States. So if you don't have kids, your vote should count less than other people. That's one of the big things he was saying. And just basically considering if you don't have kids, you're not a real citizen because you don't have any skin in the game. You have to have kids to like support America. And so like women are just basically baby factories. and they're against abortion, basically. When a lot of times those, we've already talked about many times, those, I mean, it's been talked about many times, the abortion clinics do much more than just terminate babies. And they're going to come up again. They help women with a lot of their sicknesses for maybe very, very little money or free. A lot of women need health care for a lot of things. A lot of men have a lot of issues, but women have a lot of bodily things that constantly have once they start having their periods and just the hormones and stuff like that. Women have a lot of things happening in their bodies, from my point of view, compared to men. So they, you know, give them some extra care. Anyways, yeah, his vice president's insane.
But just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think.
Did you see the woman's face right now? Again, she's asking him about one topic, and he starts going, now you're talking about the illegal immigrants coming. Illegal immigrants can't vote, but they're going to vote. Whatever the hell he's just saying now.
Should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs. The people that have come into this country illegally.
The art of war.
Mr. President, can we stay with
divide and conquer,
right
just
now?
making another enemy, always creating an enemy, an outside enemy to attack.
Right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance.
Oh man, my hand! I gotta get my.
He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance? Why did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard to hear.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly.
Shut the hell up, Trump. I'll tell you why he picked them. Supposedly, again, from what I've heard, is that he picked them before Biden left the race. And supposedly Trump wanted a different guy to be vice president. I can't remember his name right now. But he wanted a different guy to be vice president. But his kids, Trump's sons, talked him into picking this guy, J.D. Vance, for whatever reason, again, because like what J.D. Vance has said about businesses and stuff like that. And Trump was feeling, you know, really good about the position that he was in. So he thought he could basically pick this kind of anybody and he would still win. So he's okay, let's just try J.D. Vance. And the other thing that was really important to Trump is J.D. Vance was very loyal to him. J.D. Vance basically before was a Democrat, the way he was acting. He called Trump actually a Nazi. So his vice president that he picked, J.D. Vance called Trump Hitler-like. Basically, he called him, he's like an American Hitler. And he said he hated Trump. Hated him. And then when J.D. Vance saw an opportunity to get power, he flipped. And then he became the #1 supporter of Trump. And that's what Trump likes. Trump really likes people that will give him loyalty. That's basically why he picked them.
Because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected.
You mean like you?
Law school. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother, and the father, and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the Law Journal. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually. Did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale,
younger life,
and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who is also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family. But he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and
nothing really about policy, just
that helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States senator. So he's a United States senator. So Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand your microphone.
I know
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me to understand.
It's just I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you, but I can't understand Harris.
I have a few more questions
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape. But I cannot understand
Are you asking a question?
what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic. Because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president. And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen, you said it twice.
Yeah, bad things happen.
When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons.
Seems to be mattering now with Tim Walz.
Other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think J.D. is. I think that all of them would have been. But you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
And I hate you.
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in.
J.D. Vance?
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, my point
but at
is
least
here.
It was said in a friendly manner.
My point is,
like, who cares?
do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives?
Yeah. So you want to say it nicely, but it's like the point is pointing out his hypocrisy.
I don't think. Look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the death of a baby after the baby is born, based on the governor of Virginia. Based on the governor of Virginia, they're allowing the death of the baby after it's born. They're allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Okay, we're going to stop this right now. This is one of the biggest issues and one of the things that makes me passionately hate this human being. And he knows it's not true. So they're saying that the Democratic Party, the reason why they banned abortion, again, and there's videos of him he was okay with abortions a long time ago. Again, it's just saying the people that support him, just giving them what they want. They want to basically really limit abortions because of the religious beliefs or trying to control women and other stuff. They keep saying the Democratic Party or the left side of the party, they want to do abortions because they want to kill babies, and they'll do it 8th, 9th month. Even after the baby is born, they'll do abortions and kill the baby. Yes. They do that because the baby is suffering and the baby will not live. They don't do it to just kill the baby. That's called murder. The baby's alive. It's called murder to do something like that. It's incredibly painful, but sometimes women give birth to children that are not viable. The body's broken down. It's not doing well. It wasn't developed correctly. The child is suffering. It's incredibly traumatic for women and fathers and families, and they have to make a choice. I worked at schools where families decided to keep some of the kids, and I'm sorry to say this is not, it depends, it's the family's choice, but some of the kids had incredibly damaged bodies. The mental state was very bad, but they tried to keep the kids. They tried their best, and now the rest of their life is basically serving for those children. The saddest thing for me is I saw a family that kept the kids, but almost all the kids had a very high mental deficiency. Their mental state didn't develop beyond kind of like preschool age, even though they're in junior high school. And their daughter was born, the youngest daughter was born with no abnormality. The other kids were born, like a few of the kids, the other brothers were born. But the youngest daughter was born, it seems, without any abnormalities. And I could see that she loved her family. The younger daughter, she loved her family and she loved her brothers, but it's like the parents basically were trying to give birth to a kid that was going to take care of the brothers when they were gone, like kind of like locking the kid in. And I could see the girl, like she was very bright, very intelligent, but little by little, it's like I could just see the pressure around her started to change her. Again, it's the family's choice, but you got to give the families the option. This is again where I'm in Japan. It can be very difficult for certain families with very handicapped children, especially when they get older and their power is different. But also, some of the other kids just will never be able to live beyond a certain amount of time, and they have to basically do something to lessen the pain for the child and just end the child's life. And it's a very difficult decision. So when these people make light of, they're just trying to kill the baby, I've seen women just trying their hardest to have kids. Some of my students, they were adults, they told me they were trying to have kids for years, but they were taking fertility drugs, they were trying to do something for the father or something, just trying to do whatever they can to have kids. And when they finally have a baby, oh my God, they're so happy. But there was other times when, they would have those type of problems and they'd have to deal with it. Sit down! The TV's on that damn direction. Just horrible. Just these people, that's why these people just will take a truth that these things happen, but twist it to fit some kind of sick game that they're playing. Yes, children are killed after they might be killed after they're born because they're not going to live and they're suffering. There's no choice, and the kids already probably passed away when it's delivered. It's just a horrible topic, but it's the truth, and they're using it for their own political purposes, and it's sick.
Democrats have denied.
I think they're right. And I think the Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps, but the Republican Party,
you made them more
what we're doing
insane.
is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it. Everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being overturned.
They
We'll
don't
just
know
have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the three exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look,
They don't.
Right now, they're doing, it's an amazing thing. Out of the
Well,
federal government.
it depends, Case. We can get this is something another
people
topic.
are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting. And it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the three exceptions. Most people believe in the three exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that.
Saying the same thing.
And they certainly don't want to see.
But the baby is not viable. That's the problem.
The former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82. No. Which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people.
Would you
most people, I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question.
Too old.
Would you
You're all too old. Jesus Christ.
Down if you felt that your health was declining?
Like this age thing, it's after a certain age, just like driving a car, you need to take some kind of like test every year. This is ridiculous. This is an incredible. I'm sorry, but it is. It's ageist. Some things you have to be ageist for. You're too old for certain things. Like there's just got to be some kind of set thing, like maybe an age thing, and then after this point, either you have to retire, like, or you have to take a test to make sure everything's like still healthy. Because if you like pass away during your term, there's a higher chance you might pass away during your term, so it just causes more problems. But the other thing, from my point of view, is just since things change so quickly, a lot of the older generations don't understand what's happening at the moment. They don't understand what things need to be. What are the issues that young people are actually dealing with? I think there's too much of an age gap, a generation gap. Again, the society has to decide on that. It's not something but I think, again, after 60, you have to start thinking about, again, maybe max, maybe politicians, maybe 70. Again, that still feels, for me, it still feels too old. Again, other jobs, you're supposed to be hopefully retiring around 60 years old. Whatever, I don't know. There's a lot of 60-year-olds that are incredibly sharp. Bernie Sanders is one of them. Kamala is almost 60. But again, you remember, you can be president from like, I think, 35 years old. Why is there always such a gap? There's like the age for the president is going up higher and higher and higher. Look at the pictures from back in the day, the first presidents, like how young they were, and then just everything becomes older and older and older up to this day.
Or would you?
Absolutely.
And who would?
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my goodness.
me,
Again, here he goes again.
and I'm fine with it because
I'm fine with it, but I have to.
Very rude, sir. Very rude. That was a nasty. That wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your
Answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took two of them and I aced them.
Well, can I just-
God damn
I
it.
took two of them. But let me ask
He
you.
didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't take a cognitive test. Like he took a dementia test. That's the thing. He keeps us nothing. He keeps lying about. There's this test that he took, and we don't know if he took it actually twice. He might have taken it once only from a long time ago. But basically, he's been talking about this test that he took. He's like, I aced it. This cognitive test. Supposedly, it wasn't a cognitive test. It was a dementia test. So he's not. He doesn't have dementia, but he's still a dumbass. Basically, that's the thing.
I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Mr.
Don't mean to
President.
interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test
Mr. President.
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public?
Well, I've already taken two of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr.
I
President,
suggested,
how do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr.
Are
President,
you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think
I'm
Harris
just
how do you
giving the
intend,
facts. She
and
didn't
look,
pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think
Again, so she's basically lying about Kamala Harris again. She didn't pass the bar exam, which is basically like the test for lawyers to become a lawyer. A lot of lawyers don't pass it on the first try. She became the attorney general. The attorney general is basically the attorney for the freaking country. So she passed it. She did all her stuff. She has, she did all those top jobs for whatever job she did. She got up there. She's got the qualifications. Again, he's just trying to take the air out of anything that he can from her. You can't give anybody their due. Always have to he did nah. It was like they graduated with top honors. Yeah, but the school wasn't good. They served in the military. Yeah, but it wasn't long enough. Even though he didn't serve anything, it's always something.
I think she was going to have to pass it, and I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did-
over
she
here.
did
I
in
think
fact
he
pass
must
it.
work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine
Yeah, I
asked you
did,
if you would
yeah.
consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers,
Look at his
including those I
face,
just
man.
mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with
Again,
red
I'm not going to get into
paint,
it. Just
red
getting too long.
spray
He's
paint
kind of basically
that will
lying
never
about a lot of
actually come
stuff,
off,
and
especially
he's
in
calling
the limestone. It
protesters
will
basically
never happen.
rioters.
I know about this stuff. It'll never. You'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed
But sir, my
that
question
city?
is on those.
What's going to happen to
my
the people
question is
that
on
tried
those
to burn
rioters
down-
who assaulted
Excuse me.
officers.
You have to
Would you pardon
What's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent,
those-
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just
They've been convicted.
They were convicted by a very tough system.
If they're innocent,
How
but they're
come
convicted.
The people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them? How come the
But
people
sir, we're
that,
talking about
how
people
come
that
the
were
people-
seen
no,
beating
We're
officers
talking
with
about federal
flagpoles,
buildings.
dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that
Really?
video,
Oh,
sir?
really? Well, they
you would
shot-
pardon those. You would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face
Yeah.
who was protesting.
She was shot
They
because
her
she was
in the-
entering where she wasn't
nobody
supposed to.
died
They
that day.
constantly
You
kept
do know
warning
that.
her.
But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in
140
Minneapolis.
officers
Do you know
were
people died in
assaulted that
Minneapolis?
day.
And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look.
No, I'm not going to get.
Nothing is perfect.
No, I'm not going to
in
get into
life.
this ridiculous. It's just the
You
same
have
crap.
people from Minneapolis. You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fist fights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win.
He's saying you can't have two systems of justice. He was just, from the Supreme Court, he was given immunity because of all the Supreme Court justices that were given their jobs by Trump. He was basically given immunity if he becomes president. So they gave him immunity because he was the president at the time. And then if he becomes president again, he wants to have immunity. Basically, a president can do whatever he wants. That's two tiers of justice.
Without doing that, and we're going to win our cases and we're going to be vindicated, but I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care, although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
Because it's me.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do I do?
Execute
I
this
close
woman in the blue.
border. And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border.
I can
We don't
chew
want
gum and
people
walk at
coming-
the same time.
We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want
Legal,
people. I want
yeah.
people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do I do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy.
Oh, he's a
But
smart
I'm
guy because he
against
endorsed me.
everybody having an electric car, okay? I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people
They're taking your jobs.
are taking your jobs.
Project
They're taking your
2025.
jobs.
I think we have to leave it there by the
Okay.
Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. Well, that is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great
Thank
honor.
you, Mr. President.
Okay. So again, yeah, if my family watches this, okay. Yeah, if anybody else watches this, I hope you maybe will realize that this guy is human garbage. and he should not be anywhere near the White House. Not just, there's so much crap. It's like there's so much crap that he's done, and just people make excuses for him. Like anything that he does, because they just see it as a team. I'm just not going to get too much into it, but it's like a sports team to them. They just want to have their team be winners, so they don't look like losers. Sit your butt down. It's just, and it's a game to them in the end. They act like it's so important, but then it's just a game to them, and it's just sudden death for them. You know, they're whatever, they're stupid teams, and that's the thing. Like, you see certain, like how fans treat the sports in America. Again, I do sports, I love sports, but the way they act, like even when they win, they just go crazy and destroy stuff in America. They lose, they'll do some other crazy crap. Even in Europe and those type of things, a lot of people, when they see things as like a sports, it's like they don't realize the consequences of what they're actually doing. Again, I pointed out a bunch of stuff. If you believe it or don't believe it, then check yourself. You gotta, and if you don't trust anything, all right then. I mean, then what can you do? Then don't go to the hospital. Don't get any medicine when you get sick. Don't trust anything. Just go live in your cave in the woods somewhere, and hopefully you have a good life. There you go. To my family, if you watch this, you know, I'll try to do more of this type of stuff. I know everybody's busy, so I'll give you just a little bit of information of what I know. And I hope everybody's having a good one. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you hopefully soon. Take care, and let's wait. Just, you know, and you know, the elections, I think from when I'm making this video, is probably going to be happening in about 80 days. So let's see what there's a bunch of stuff that's happening. I hope you guys start paying a little bit of attention to it. All right, take care of yourselves and the ones you love. Good night.